Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Harris County Department of Ed. We're glad that you're here. Our Center for Safe and Secure Schools folks are here also to talk to you about some safety and health programs that they have to talk to you about. As I was walking through here through the hallway, one of my staff members contacted me and said, I used to work on some of the legislative laws and things that deal with attendance officers, and he wanted to come in and talk to you. And so I was hoping that he was already here, but he's not here. So maybe after your session, can leave about 5 minutes for him to come in and talk about. He mentioned to me that he was involved with when some of the laws and attendance law were enacted a few years ago, and so he's been tracking some of those things down, and so he's going to be doing some legislative work for us, and so it'll be nice for him to hear from you, and then in case you need some feedback to him so he can take back to the legislature, and so it may be a good contact for you guys to have with him. His name is Jimmy Nguyen. He used to work here at HCD, and now he's back with us. Again, welcome. I know there's a few folks that are still coming in, probably the cold weather is maybe are under the weather just like I am, so and talk about him. He just showed up. Well, what timing, Jimmy would come up and talk to us a little bit about some of the legislature history, and then a little bit of what's going on, and really introduce yourself to them so they can kind of hear about what the timing.
I don't think I need that. Can y'all hear me in the back?
Well, because
they're recording. Okay, all right. Sorry to interrupt your meeting. It's just very fortuitous. So I'm Jimmy Nguyen, and I just returned here to HCDE after I was here for 20 years off and on in different capacities, and just came back full-time working for Mr. Culver as Special Assistant Superintendent. And I had been following a number of these bills that I see laid out here before me today, and was actually going to reach out to this group, not knowing this group existed, was going to reach out to y'all individually and try to talk with you about what's happening legislatively around truancy this session, and try to get your sense of. I've talked to some districts, particularly the chiefs of police, and kind of uniformly what I heard back was that these are bills that are going to make your life much more difficult, and make enforcing school attendance much more difficult. And so what I really want to do today, if I could, was introduce myself, let y'all know part of what I do here at HCDE is work with our legislative agenda, and go back and forth to Austin and try to communicate the issues that are collectively matter to the school districts. There are a lot of things that school districts have different opinions on, like school finance, which I'll leave to my colleague to talk about. But on issues like truancy, for example, most of the Harris County schools have traditionally been aligned on that, and I was involved back in '99 and 2001, when then Senator Till Bivens, who was chair of the Senate Education Committee, filed the bills and led the charge to create most of the tools that y'all have in terms of the ability to file charges and those kind of things. So what I really want to do was just get a sense from this group, if I could, and thank you for letting me interrupt your meeting. Are these bills as problematic for y'all's work as I think they are, or as someone who doesn't do your work? Am I just reading them wrong? And is this all going to be just fine if these pass, or is this problematic?
It's problematic.
Yes, it's problematic. We were going to share all of these with everyone. I'm not sure if everyone has got a copy of it, had a chance to
Okay, sorry. Okay.
My
apologies.
Yeah.
I think most of us have, but
Okay,
just
I'm sorry.
I may be wrong.
Sorry. No, nice to meet you, Amy.
Mention, we were going to get some background first, and then we're going to discuss
Right.
it. So if
Okay.
you want to discuss
Let's
it a
hear
little
all
bit,
the
the
bills.
detail
Yep.
Here.
before, and then ask, because I don't know if everyone knows exactly how
Sure.
it's going to impact us.
And I'll try to sum up, because there's several different bills that do several different things, and I know y'all want to have a larger discussion, but from kind of the overarching big picture, that I see is that, number one, most of these bills would take away the ability of truant officers to file criminal charges either on students or parents. They would impose instead a set of progressive sanctions I'm confused. I'm not. The joke about me is that I'm not an educator. I've worked here for 20 years, but I've actually never been in the classroom. But that aside, I'm really not sure how you progressively sanction someone who's not coming to school. Nobody can explain that to me. I've asked a lot of teachers and a lot of principals, and a lot of our current superintendent's a former principal, and I said, "Sir, how would you progressively sanction someone who's not coming to school?" And he said, "You couldn't do that." And I said, "Well, I didn't think so." So, in a nutshell, that's what most of these bills do. There's a lot of things that would, I think, make your individual day-to-day life more difficult, and those are issues certainly that we want to represent in Austin as well on behalf of attendance officers and chiefs of police and school districts. But the biggest issue, the biggest overarching issue that I see is that it takes away your ability to compel parents, particularly parents, to follow the law. I will tell you that based on what's happened in Austin over the last couple of sessions and all of the, there's been a tremendous outcry about the fact that, too many tickets are being written on kids and it's causing all these issues, and there have been individual incidents. I call this policy making by anecdote, where one or two things happen and they become it becomes everyone's cause du jour. And so I will tell you, and if I'm wrong, I'll buy this group lunch in June when session's over. I will tell you, I think it may be hard to maintain the criminal sanctions on the students just based on what the climate of the legislature seems to be, and whether or not and I'm not saying that fight's over, but this is kind of me handicapping this horse race early on, having worked in now 14 legislative sessions, because that's how you're getting old when you turn 50 and you've been in the working legislature for 28 years. We may lose on the kid fight. We may lose the kid fight. I don't know that. That's just my gut instinct. But if we lose the ability to file charges on the adults who are required to keep their kids in school, then I'm not sure how you all do your jobs. I mean, I don't know. And so I think that's a voice and a message that needs to be heard. In Austin, I think that the men and women who are charged with making sure that compulsory attendance is not just an idea, but is in fact a reality, need to be heard. And from a financial standpoint, I mean, again, I'll defer to Jesus, who's he's been doing school finance work longer than I've been doing policy work. I have real concerns about the impact in a county this big. I played with some numbers, some back of the envelope numbers over the weekend. Even if we assume that these progressive sanctions were 50% effective, so let's just assume that 50% of the kids that y'all got back in school just didn't show back up. What the impact on that would be to ADA in a county this large? We're talking tens of millions of dollars that districts would lose. So I mean, there's obviously an economic cost to districts, but more importantly, these kids aren't going to get an education if they're. I mean, that's why we have compulsory school attendance. I don't want to interrupt your meeting very much more than this. I know you've got an agenda plan, but I will be in Austin pretty much every week, at least 1 or 2 days between now and the end of session. And so happy to communicate with this group, and I know you'll have folks up there as well. But anything we can do from the HCDE perspective to help take the message to Austin that this is just not good policy, and while it may be well intentioned. I know most of the folks that filed these bills. I don't think any of them are sitting around thinking, how can I make truant officers' lives harder? That's not their agenda. They're just not there. They're not practitioners. They're not on the streets knocking on doors. It's interesting. There was an article in the Chronicle over the holidays. Some of you may have seen this about the one child that missed, and she was an honor student in the Honor Society, and she was pregnant and she didn't get to go to school, and then there was all this stuff going on, and so as is typically the case with the newspapers, the photograph that they used didn't match the story at all. The photograph is one of your colleagues in El Paso knocking on a door, trying to say, "Hello, why aren't you in school? You need to come to school." The very thing that y'all do. So this idea that somehow y'all set out to cause children problems in the judicial system is just ridiculous. I mean, you spend 90% of your time, whether you're in a uniform or not, doing social work. We all know that. I mean, that's what you do. And so how we communicate that message, I think, is the critical part of this. And so I look forward to working with this group.
Okay. We're going to be meeting in April. If you can come in
Okay.
April.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We'll email.
And I will just say, if depending on how quickly these bills meet, I may, if it's possible, I know y'all try to just meet once a quarter, but with this many issues happening in the session, we may need to try to get together late February, early March. But I don't have a card yet. I'm so new, I don't have cards, but Jesus knows how to find me, and I'll make sure I leave it. All right. Thank you all very much for your time.
Well, I am deemed to speak about really boring stuff, and that is safe and health programs. But we're going to just shake that up a little bit. It's my understanding, and I'll tell you a little bit about what the Center for Safe and Secure Schools does. Is anybody familiar with the Center for Safe and Secure Schools? Well, we're an awesome division that is a resource for you and your district and your campus individually. Our focus is to ensure that not only the children that you are servicing, but that you have a safe working environment, and that there are policies and procedures in place to ensure that the district is doing that for you. So what he was saying this morning, everybody has these fill-in-the-blank sheets. I would also, as part of the center, be really, really interested what your thoughts, concerns, hazards that you endure, that you maybe just experience it, but kind of don't give it another thought. And those are the things that concern me as a safety professional, as an occupational safety and health trainer. Those are the things that will eventually hurt us and unfortunately sometimes really kill us. So what we're going to talk about this morning, we're going to brush through is safety and health programs, the benefits of the programs, and it's really more for your benefit. What we do at the center, when we do a safe and secure school audit for your district, we're not only looking at brick and mortar, we are looking at the policies that the district has implementing. We are looking at, is the district following state mandates as well? Is the campus following them? Are they truly providing you with the information that's going to keep you safe? That is going to give you that sense of security that what you're doing, you're going to be safe and that you're going to be supported. And so Nathaniel was so kind to share a couple of hazards with me that we'll talk a little bit in a few. But identifying the hazards is critical. So for us, if you could share those with us, it'll be fantastic for me, because what we can then now do in our audits is include this group of people that, I'll be candid with you, and I'm embarrassed to share, but I believe in transparency. I've done almost a lot of districts, and I never thought about the truancy officers, so I plead mea culpa and please forgive me. Now that I stand before you and am reading 8 of the hazards, it's going to absolutely move me to there's a sense of urgency for us, now for me, to include this dynamic group. We identify them, we apply the controls, we review it, we look at it, and then we develop policies and procedures. We look at the risk. What are the risks that we're exposing you to as a district? What are we exposing you to? If we could take 2 minutes, if you guys can just tell me the biggest risk, the hazard that concerns you the most.
Pit bulls.
Pit bulls. Okay, that's a good one. What else? Animals. Is there anything other than animals?
Of course.
Okay, the gang threat. And I appreciate that, because we are offering an anti-bullying, diversity, inclusion. I'm going to do that portion, an anti-bullying, and then we're going to have one of our consultants that is with the Harris County Sheriff's Department that is in the anti-gang squad. So if you can make note of that, that would be fantastic, because that is something that we want to bring to the districts, to the campuses, awareness of things that you know, they're being very creative in hiding what they're doing in very unassuming things. I mean, they take a Disney character, really? A Disney character? They have ruined Disney for me. In Sesame Street, I couldn't believe that. So in basic safety and health, let's look at the hazards. And our whole goal is to mitigate them. Our whole goal is to make sure that you guys are safe and that you're able to do what you do in the safest manner. The major elements, you know, management is really key. We've got to have buy-in from the top. Sometimes we get lost in the day-to-day, and there is always that element of we're all extremely busy, but I come from the private sector, guys, and I train not only general industry, but I train construction, and that is where the biggest gap is, unfortunately, is from top down. They want to train everybody, but then they handcuff me to my right arm to my left ankle, and then I can't change anything. That's very frustrating when you're the one in the thick of it, being exposed to whatever liabilities that there are. So with that being said, I want you, now that you know that we're here for you, the center is here for you, now that you know my card is here, email address, email me the risks and the hazards that you guys are exposed to. We have to identify those, because then I can go up to our leadership and say, I need your help to talk to the districts. What can we do to educate the educators that this group of people, we're exposing them to these hazards, and we're ultimately responsible for them. Training is really, really critical. When was the last training that you could say that you remember that the district did for you related to safety and health?
7 or 8 years ago, maybe.
Okay, so you would think it's about time that we maybe start talking about it again? And you know, people get so gun shy and they get traumatized with training. And I'm a trainer. You tell me I gotta go to training and I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta go to training. But if we just change it up a bit and say, hey, let's start having more conversation. Let's just have a conversation on whatever meetings that you have. They don't need to make them long and drawn and you have to sit here for 3 hours and you have to do this. Good grief. But let's have, how often do you guys meet? Independently in your district, together? How often do you meet?
In regards to?
Just anything, staff develop, anything. Staff, do you have like weekly staff meetings to maybe catch up of what you're doing and who you're doing with?
Well, as attendance officers, we personality.
Okay, so as attendance officers, you meet, right? What do you guys normally talk about?
Attendance officers.
Okay, attendance officer stuff.
Home visits, verification of address.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we take a couple of minutes and say, hey, what are you guys doing with the dog situation? What are you guys doing going into, I mean, when I saw the #1 concern that Nathaniel shared with me, there's violence. That one, I didn't ever stop to think that you guys are knocking on doors. You don't know what's on the other side of the door. And you don't know that if parents are off at work and what the kid's doing. You don't want to know.
Well, even with the violence thing, some of us have been in our neighborhoods and we've actually seen, you know, the gang infestation, gunshots riddled at the house that we might be visiting on occasions. So, you know, it's
So
out
I
there.
think it's about time we start having that conversation. And we really start arming you with, I'm not saying let's give every truant's officer a gun, but I'm saying with arming you with information on, okay, how are we going to approach this? And what are you, district, doing for me if I get shot and killed here? So there's gotta be that kind of emergency planning, that business continuity. I mean, and I know in education, you know, we don't say business, but we have to talk about it because we're in the business of educating people. And it's important that these children do go to school because we are in the business of educating. So let's have these conversations. That's really scary to me. The other one was physical harm. All right, so now we're at the door. What kind of physical harm are you really exposed to? So what's in our process right now? What's in our policy that says okay, one more gap. Identified another gap. That's a risk. The district they're liable for you. You've got to have those conversations now. Verbal insulting. Wow. Inclement weather, this one's really interesting. And it's really interesting to me per se, because I spearhead the audit, the Safe and Secure School audit automated assessment, and now I'm spearheading our school safety alerts. That is really a phenomenal plan that I feel if you guys are the ones exposed to the inclement weather, you should be able to look at that and have access to that and say, okay, the district has shut the district down because of inclement weather. That's going to be on my agenda to make sure that when I speak to your leadership on who gets roles and permissions to this particular safety alerts, that we don't forget about the very people that we're exposing to this particular hazard. That's going to be critical information for you. Critical information for you because you're on our roadways. On our roadways, now we have to talk about road rage. Now we have to talk about, right. And, we have a gazillion chemical plants here, not to mention utilities that go down. What's in our process, what's in our policy that protects you if there's a turned over truck with leaking chemical hazards? So one of my focuses is to arm you with the information that you need that is going to protect you. That's important to me. And the only way that I can do that effectively is to give you the information, we make some noise, and then policy gets modified. If you feel that you have not been included for whatever the reason, well, let's start having that conversation about including you. So I will reach out to you, maybe not individually. If you take my card and email me, I'll be happy to, or through Nathaniel. If you guys share information with me, now I can create the story. Now I can really create what it looks like for you on a day-to-day and what we have neglected to do. And I'm going to say, yes, ma'am.
I just want to say back to the physical harm. When we're on verification of addresses, we're verifying an address. And so if we have an angry parent who may actually damage your car, throw things at you, whatever. It may happen. So your vehicle also
I've always been worried about them
is
knowing
another issue. Because, you have angry parents. I've just had one actually who called the cops on me. So, and he said, you should not come to my house again. So you don't know what level of anger, that parent, I guess, is experiencing when you go out to that home. So you risk physical harm, either in your car or if you're outside of your car.
So we not only risk personal, now we risk
Right.
vehicle, property harm.
We have personal vehicles, not everyone, they have.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have to point that out, they have issued vehicles over here.
Yes, ma'am.
I get all of those notifications from my school districts. I'm on the automatic system and it comes through my district provided phone. I get all of those notifications if there's closures or if there's a chemical spill. My district gets me all of those.
Well, then I will reach out to you to get that model. So then the rest of the districts that don't have that privilege, maybe we can find a creative way to get that for them.
So there's nobody else in this room that gets those notifications from their district when things like that happen?
Well, you know, once again, we have such a diverse, I mean, Harris County has a diverse population in different districts with very different budgets. And believe it or not, this is one of the services that HCDE, I'm not gonna say we'll find money for you, because we'll never, you know, I can't say that. However, we will find some kind of resource. If we're not the resource, then our job is to help you find that resource. As part of the Center for Safe and Secure Schools, and I'm a consultant for the Center for Safe and Secure Schools, I take y'all's life very seriously. And that's just part of the nature of being in this kind of world. Emergency management is very important to me, because we are in one of the biggest cities that gets hit with most disasters in the country. And sometimes we're hit with them and we don't even know it as a general population. That scares me. And I'm not a Houstonian either. I drive out here from San Antonio. So inclement heat, part of the inclement weather, you know, by law in the private sector, by law, we have to provide you with water to ensure that you are hydrated. And the private sector is a whole different world than what we go through, what you guys experience as an independent school district. So my mission and my goal is to say, hey, wouldn't it be nice? Sure, we don't have to follow federal guideline because we're state, and state we're very proud, and state that's the whole purpose of being an independent school district. We get to make our own rules and we get to follow them. But as part of the center, my personal goal is to say to districts, wouldn't it really be nice that yes, you don't have to abide by federal guideline, but wouldn't it be nice to be known as the district that not only knows the federal guideline, but also is implementing them for the protection and the safety of the people that help us serve our district. You know, in education, it's a true calling and it really is of service. And I'm learning that now, working with people in the education, working with you guys, with your heart, because it's not everywhere. I'll tell you that. And so now I feel almost a moral, I feel a moral obligation now that I know this, now I have to do something about this. In the private world, if I were talking to corporations, now by law, as a federal authorized OSHA trainer, I have to tell. Very different world here. Now we just have to start making some noise and bringing to the attention to, and maybe it's just not, they just didn't know. So there's a whole different conversation with, you have been advised. And military people understand that, you've been advised. So outside of these, what else concerns you?
Safety. Anybody? Those were just, I was sitting at my desk one day and I just started writing those, and so, you know, they just kind of came to me. And I'm sure we all pretty much experience the same thing on a daily basis when we're out there, you know, tackling our jobs, what have you. But, you know, those were just some of the ones that came up when I was just sitting at my desk one day.
Well, certainly I recognize that our community is growing and we're getting new individuals in from all over.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly there's a concern for the mental health aspects of some of the home visits we make, some of the interactions we have with those.
And thank you for mentioning that.
Yes.
Because that is a topic that it's one of those, I don't really want to talk about that. But we know that it is an issue. And we do know that, unfortunately, most of the time when we're having these gun control issues, it usually is somebody with mental health. I mean, no, it's a challenge, but it's another one of those things that we have to shine the spotlight to.
Because there's really no reasoning with someone, I'm talking about the lady that kept coming There's no reasoning with them, when you're trying to explain your, the situation about the filing or the reason why you're there for verifying. That's true, I'm glad you brought that up. Because we've dealt with that on several occasions where we've had, ongoing situation with a parent that is mentally ill, and you really can't do anything other than try.
Well, mental illness, it's real. I mean, and I'll share my personal journey with mental illness. My daughter, who is now 24, why I know that children have an alternate world is because I lived it, I experienced it. I experienced you guys in San Antonio. I went and I paid the fine. I had very creative children, very articulate, authority, defiant children. It happens to the best of us. I would drop them off at school, and they would leave right back out, and they would walk home. Well, I have a severely bipolar child, which I did not know after learning with her last suicide attempt that had been going on for years. And this was her 4th suicide attempt. So mental illness does affect, and affects the children. And the parent may be like me, like oblivious. And I felt like, I really felt inept because I didn't arm myself with the information, because that's not gonna happen to me. My kid, I'd kill her if she tried to kill herself. I would. I was raised by a Mexican mama. There's no such thing as depression or nothing. Go grab a broom and find something to do. But, there's no such thing as being sad or depressed. And, and it's very vexing for the parent when you guys, when I got the call, I'd get the call, I would be in a board meeting. I did technology before it. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, now what? And it is very vexing for the parent. And I didn't realize the severity of it. It really does affect. And with the last and final attempt, and thank God she pulled through, and she's doing great, and she's grown up now, and she's gonna be a mama, and all of that neat stuff. But she said something extremely powerful to me that has changed the way I view the world, and the way I view children, and the way I view people like you guys that have to endure this. Is she said, Mama, if I had been diagnosed when I was in the 4th grade, I would have never done any of this. Wow. It's awareness. So it's shining that spotlight. So yes, safe and secure schools, I understand it, I live it, I breathe it, I pound my chest about it all the time. But my goal is to bring to the surface, to the attention of the underlining, unspoken things that are real, that are causing the issues that you guys are enduring. And I'm bringing my practicality and yes, my business mindset from the private sector of look for the root cause. What is the root cause? Period. If we can find the root cause, if we can give it a name. I'll share another personal with you. They diagnosed her with ADHD in the 4th grade. And compliments to her diagnosis, I got diagnosed. Severely ADHD and dyslexic. But you know what my relief was? And I was grown up. My relief was like, wow, there's a name to this? And then I start thinking, I got kicked out of private schools, the nuns hated me, and I got spanked all my life.
That's the reason why.
That was the reason why. And it's an amazing thing when you take your medicine and you're going like, wow, there is clarity. I can hear what you're saying to me now because the conversation over here is not pulling me. I understand it. So let's have, once again, let's have the conversation. So yes, there are things that you can do. Why can't we pull in a counselor? Why can't we say, okay, counseling staff, I know it's comfy cozy in your office and it smells fantastic. However, I really need you to go with me to this house because I know for a fact we can not say we know for a fact. However, we've already experienced a little bit of the, odd behavior. we need somebody's support with that. Yes, ma'am.
One other thing you were asking if there's any additional, I just thought about when you were talking about that, is that when we go to these homes, it's not just about our safety, you know.
Safety.
Yeah, our safety. Also, sometimes, you know, we find that there is a safety concern for the children. And so I end up having to deal with, you know, CPS quite often in order to then make sure that this child, you know, especially when you see something,
You have to say something.
and so that's another aspect as well, is that we also have to be concerned about the safety of the, you know, environment for the student, you know, so.
Okay, coming from San Antonio, where everything is fiesta, kumbaya, I learned here that there is an issue, and unfortunately for us, Harris County and Houston, this is the most diverse city in the world, really. Unfortunately for us and for our children, this is the conduit for human trafficking. And that's another conversation that we're going like, well, we really don't want to talk about that. We know it, but we really don't want to talk about it. We've got to arm you with the information so you can know how to identify that. You're going to go to the door with, and I hope that what I say does not offend you in any shape or form, because it's not intended for that reason, but you're going to go with the lowest form of training that you have had, because that's what's on the forefront of your mind. Because that is comfortable. Because you own that knowledge, not that you know it. That's why when we know stuff, we forget it. But when you own it, you speak it with conviction and you recognize it immediately. So shame on us, and I'm going to say it, shame on us, me, Bonnie personally, because I can only do that. Shame on me if I don't talk to you about it, if we're talking about safety and health. Knowing that you guys have to say something. How do we identify it? Have you seen any of it? And our children are getting younger, and they're tattooing these kids to identify who they belong to what cartel they belong to what group they belong to what ethnicity they belong to. You can identify them because they're still wearing the same clothes. It's Friday, and they're still wearing the same clothes that they had on Monday. And unfortunately, the meal that they have, the free breakfast, if they get there on time, because they've had to work all night, and the lunch is all they're going to get. We have to have these conversations. So if you're seeing anything out of the ordinary of our normal CPS call, please say something. Because if you feed me the information, then I can make enough noise here as the center to say, look, this is the data that we're getting. This is the need. This is the need that our districts, that whom we are servicing, whom I'm asking you, pleading with you to use us as a resource for you. Your district already, for some of our services, your district already paid for it. That's one of the perks of being a member. So there's a member of the Center for Safe and Secure Schools. Utilize us so we can be that resource for you. We're not the boots on the ground with you. I'll tell you what, I'm going to request, if they would let me, what that would look like. Because now I feel obligated and morally responsible to add your group into our safe and secure school audit that every district has to do once every 3 years anyway. But in my opinion, that's not enough. We should do it every year. We should be talking about things more than just once a year. What are your in-service, in San Antonio they call them in-services. What do they call them here, staff development? How often do you get those?
For us.
We don't do that. Anybody else?
We hold our own. We train ourselves.
So See, this is no different than what I do in construction. You don't have to wear your hard hat because the contract didn't say you had to wear it. Wow. All right. So let's just talk about then policy and goals. I mean, my goal now, number one, hot item is let's develop some kind of training based on the data that I hope you guys share with me. So then we can start sending it up the food chain and saying, this is what we need to develop for the districts that we are servicing. This is what they are requiring. Somebody be my timekeeper because I can talk forever. Employee involvement. This is key. Districts, campuses are very proud that they have safety committees. Just by this conversation we're having, I'm almost positive you've not been invited to one. So, are you invited to one? So he does training for you?
We've been in a couple with him, yes.
Awesome. I'm glad. Ralph is one of our friends. Responsibility. Okay. I can speak with you with conviction on the private sector. The federal guideline says if you're an employer, you are responsible for your employees up to the air and the water that they drink. The air you breathe and the water you drink, an employer is responsible for you, period, end of story. It's federal law. If they don't, they break it, you can tell, and they go through a process. In the public sector, it's something that they write in their policy, and let's just hope that they're following our policy. I would love to change the face of how the public sector views safety and health, safety and security, emergency management. Everything that we've talked about that is concerning you falls in those three realms. So, responsibility. On this side, we make the employer responsible. On your side, I am viewing, I am sensing, I am feeling, and I am receiving that we may have to have conversation where we're going to have to just make it self-policing. Let's be responsible for self first, and if something is dangerous, is to let somebody know immediately. And maybe if you do it often enough, then that it can now become part of the district policy that you serve. Ultimately, that would be my goal, that happens. Worksite analysis, like I said, every 3 years, every district is required, every school campus is required to go through a safe and secure school audit. They have to report it to the state, and then that's pretty much it. And then it's district self-policing. You guys are pretty fortunate that there's several districts in Harris County that procure that service from us. What I am proudly here to tell you is that the people that set foot on your district now are safety professionals like myself that were looking at things from a different lens. We have law enforcement, either active duty law enforcement looking at the security aspect of it, or retired law enforcement that are looking at security aspect of it. And now I'm training them to have that eagle eye for occupational safety and health. We're also adding a little bit different as well. And it's hard to explain, but when you're an officer, they get it. I want them to pay attention to the campus vibe. I want them to look at morale. I want them to look at behavior of the children, behavior of the grown-ups. Are people looking at you in the eye when they speak to you? Are children waving at you, even though you're really not supposed to be roaming their halls? But you know what that says to us, to me, is that the leadership on that campus has set a positive emotional well-being to that campus. When that happens, it triggers something on our human psyche to be empathetic. When that happens, it triggers something else. It triggers us to be respectful. And honestly, what I have learned in all of these years of teaching and speaking about occupational safety and health, regardless of the industry, race, color, creed, national origin, there's three things that the human element wants and will call for it, will do crazy things to get it, is to be seen. Just want to be seen, man. We want to be heard, and then we want to be valued. Those three things, if they are done, we are taking the time to really see somebody. It's going to make us stop in what we're doing to pay attention and actually hear them. Now we're listening. And because we're listening to them, now they're going to perceive that we are valuing what they're saying, but more importantly, guys, that we are valuing them as a human being. Even the chaotic mental health patient, if you just stop and let them go through their rant for a minute and say, I see you, let me hear what you're trying to tell me, and let me show you that respect. The seeing will equate to consideration, because if we consider somebody's situation, somebody's dress, we're just taking them into consideration. It immediately transitions into compassion, which equates to empathy. Now, if we're compassionate to somebody, it's going to be perceived that you're respecting me, which is valuing what I have to say. Yes, ma'am.
And you said the key thing, I think training is on how to handle those behaviors.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to have training.
We have to have it. Period. End of story. And it's not that we are not already compassionate and that we're not already respectful. We just may not find it in our heart in a moment where it's really chaotic. And I don't know about you, but I would panic, and I trained this, if somebody is charging at me with abusive words, and how would we react? So, shutting it close, or in conclusion, I suppose, since we're running out of time, please, what I can say to you is, I'm going to do the last page. Here is my information. Please take it down, take a picture. My card is up here. I would love, and I commit to you, to work with you to help find a solution to better serve you. To help you feel like you're doing what you do for us in a safe manner. Because if you feel safe and not scared, you're gonna feel effective. And what the ultimate goal of what you're doing is, we have to be effective. We've got to get these children back to school.
Good morning to everybody, and today's a very good day because the folks that are in here are the ones that really know about our program, would really need to know about us, and get a lot from us. We are the Texas Challenge Academy. Probably many years ago, most of y'all heard about a program called Seaborn Challenge Corps. Yes. Okay, well, Seaborn was during the storm, it knocked us out of Galveston, and so we had to relocate our campus, and we relocated to West Texas, Sheffield, West Texas. We also are on the verge of opening up another campus here, not too far from this area. But I'll stop there. We have a short video, a little history on the organization, and I'll go right into the, as sometimes it's called, the nuts and the bolts, the meat of the program. Thank you, Nathaniel. And thank you all for being here this morning. I know it's a good day today. It looks like it's going to clear up.
Our country is facing a crisis. Each year, over 1 million students drop out of high school. High school dropouts cost our nation over $260 billion in lost wages, taxes, and productivity. Spending their days in the parking lots, playgrounds, and malls across our nation, these young people are at great risk for substance abuse, teen pregnancy, and criminal activity.
This is a domestic enemy. If a foreign power infiltrated our society and did things to disrupt our school systems so that kids would not be able to move on and be productive citizens, and we found out about it, we'd go to war. There's no doubt in my mind, because that will kill a country. Well, it's not a foreign power doing it. We have done it ourselves. So this is a national defense issue.
In keeping with its mission to maintain the freedom and security of the nation, the National Guard launched the Youth Challenge Program in 1993 to respond to the growing crisis of at-risk youth.
The Challenge Program addresses the needs of 16 to 18-year-old high school dropouts in a comprehensive strategy that includes academic excellence, job skills, counseling, and service to community. This 17-month program has graduated over 77,000 young people in 28 states and 1 territory, changing the face of America's troubled youth in profound and lasting ways.
The fact that we have so many kids dropping out of high school means that our country is missing out on a tremendous asset that normally would be there had these kids been productive in school. Part of what the National Guard is trying to do is bring some of these kids back into the mainstream and make them productive citizens. We give them that second chance.
When I first came to YCP, I was on the 6th grade level of testing. Now I'm on the 12th grade level of testing, so in 5 months, I came up 6th grade levels.
If it wasn't for YCP, I'd probably be out on the streets dead, in trouble, in jail, or overdose somewhere. And this program has changed me so much.
I couldn't believe it when he first came home. It's my child. He certainly had made a great change.
The Youth Challenge Program is designed to develop the whole cadet in mind, body, and personal values. The program's 8 core components, academic excellence, job training, life coping skills, leadership, physical fitness, health, citizenship, and service to community are critical building blocks of the program. As of January 2008, cadets have volunteered over 5.2 million hours of service to community, representing a value of nearly $35 million.
On graduation day, all you have to do is go back 5.5 months and remember what the kids were like when they first arrived. What you see now is a young man or woman with a tremendous amount of self-esteem, a tremendous amount of confidence, and you can see it in the way they carry themselves. That young man or that young lady had been transformed, something that was unbelievable 5.5 months ago. And every parent, when that child was first born, they wanted him to be a success. And somewhere along the line, something went wrong. But at graduation, all that is made right. Graduate.
As of January 2008, nearly 77,000 students have graduated from the program nationwide, and 80% of them have received their high school degree or GED. The program operates at an annual cost of only $14,000 per enrollee, saving taxpayers $109 million in juvenile correctional costs and over $31 million in ongoing educational costs. Youth Challenge is succeeding in providing thousands of young people a second chance to be productive citizens. But there is still so much work to be done. Due to funding restrictions, 6 out of 10 applicants are turned away every year. No child seeking a second chance should ever be turned away.
Our country cannot continue to have a dropout every 8 seconds and not realize something's got to be done. Somehow, that has to get fixed.
The high school dropout rate in this country is truly a silent epidemic. Our nation cannot afford to lose 1/3 of its future workforce. Help us help America's youth. Invest in the future. Dream, believe, achieve.
That was in 2008. Since then, we have grown. When I say we, our nation, we have 37 schools across our great nation in 25 states. Our neighbor down the road, Louisiana, they've had some catastrophic events in the last 10 years, and they have 3 academies. Oklahoma has 2, California has 3, about to open up another one. Here in Texas, we only have 1. We're about to open our second site July of 2005. Back then it was costing a little over $14,000 per one enrollee. It's now $17,000 plus 200 and some change for one enrollee. However, we are federally and state funded, so there's no tuition to the cost to the parents that their son or daughter does get selected. We know that it's not a silent epidemic anymore. We know that your jobs are definitely out in the field. And I heard a little bit, I came in a little bit and sat back there, and I know that some of y'all have to go to homes and all that, and I know that y'all probably know a lot of students that could probably benefit from our school. Our school is a high school. After the storm, we moved to Sheffield, West Texas, and we became an official high school. So what can we do for the students? We can do credit recovery. Thank you, Nathaniel. Credit recovery. They can possibly earn a GED and or a high school diploma if they are close enough in those 5.5 months. We're a no-nonsense school. We're not a boot camp. We're not a jail. We're not it used to be TYC, now it's Texas JJD, Texas Juvenile Justice Department. Our students are only volunteers. Only volunteers. Our great nation was founded on volunteers. We only take volunteers. I did a briefing last Saturday at, I'm sure y'all probably know the location, 6300 Chimney Rock. I think they house CPS and juvenile probation officers there. I did a briefing there to about 35 parents and students that were there. And it's a short fuse because our next class starts as you were, this Saturday. We're bringing in 147 students from all over this great state of Texas. And when I was done with that presentation, there was about 10 or 15 families that said, I need my son or daughter into your program. You'd be surprised how many that you work with once they know who we are and what we do, because the magic is getting them out of their HOR, their home of record, and going to a new home of record. And you'll see what blossoms over there at that point in time. Once again, we're no nonsense. Our cadets, our applicants get up on or about 4:45 in the morning. At 5 o'clock, they're outside getting ready to do some PT, physical training. An hour later, they're taking a shower, moving on, and get ready to go to a breakfast. Then they go right to school. School starts 7:15. Then in between that time, they have lunch. And it's all in uniform. All in uniform. They'll have lunch. They'll go right to class. Class is over 3:15. Then there's a little extra downtime where they can tutor for the students that, remember, who our clients are. Some of them are so far behind, they have to have extra tutoring as well. So we have it set up there as well. Lights go out at 8 o'clock. 2000, the lights go out. And if you snore like some folks, you can hear them snoring in the hallway out there about 20:05. Once again, that's every day. On Sundays, they sleep in an extra hour. They get up at 6, or as you were, 05:45. An hour later, they get up on Sundays. Same routine. Our school is designed like this because, just so you know, 21 years ago, this is not about politics, just so you know, 21 years ago, at that time, our commander-in-chief was President Clinton. And he got together with the leadership, the educators of our nation, admirals and generals, and said, we got something coming our way, and that's going to be called the at-risk population. 21 years later, we're still dealing with it. But with the academies that are coming up and more programs that the school districts are implementing in their own school district, we're targeting, I believe you heard the director of the Florida Challenge, Command Sergeant Major, I forget his name, Bremen, I believe, every 8 seconds, many years ago, every 8 seconds there was a young adult dropping out of school. That has changed now to 24 seconds. Why? Because there's a lot of programs that are now helping our young men and women. So it is still an epidemic. Our school is 5.5 months long. After 5.5 months, as you saw, they'll graduate with a cap down in a tassel. After 5.5 months, they'll be linked up to a big brother or a big sister, a mentor. Part of their application to come into our campuses, they will have to have a mentor in place. And this mentor will take a 2.5-hour class on what the requirements are of being a mentor for the National Guard Youth Challenge Program. We are the second, we're right neck and neck with the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but we're in second place right now. I believe in the next 2 or 3 years when more of these academies come up, we will supersede the Big Brothers, Big Sisters as far as the mentor program, because the mentors are what our young men and women need nowadays. We as parents, and I heard the Bonnie earlier, we as parents, we want the best for our sons and daughters. We know that. We also know that oftentimes, our sons and daughters can and will disappoint us. But at the age of 16, 17, and 18 years of age, we have got to give these young men and women everything that we can. Put it on their plate. Invite them to a presentation. I do presentations twice in this area. Southeast Houston, my area encompasses, many years ago I used to cover the whole state, but now there's 4 more recruiters out there, or information specialists, or now they changed our name to marketing specialists. I just saw that the other day. But anyway, there's 4 more marketing specialists out in this great state, so I don't have to cover the whole state anymore. But my area is here in Southeast Texas. I encompass Houston and Region 5, which is a Beaumont. I had a briefing last week, actually almost 10 days ago, with the Education Service Center in Beaumont. Their director, Dr. Danny Lovett. And when he heard about this program, he said, I remember a program called Seaborn. That's y'all. And I said, yes, it is. He goes, we thought the storm knocked y'all out forever. I said, no, sir. It just made us grow bigger and better. He goes, you're absolutely right. He goes, you'll be coming back to brief all his superintendents in Region 5. And by the way, just so you know, on the 21st, I am briefing Dr. Pam Wells, which is District 4, and some of her leadership staff here in at their office on the 21st, I guess somebody's from that area. And how I met those folks, it's got to be a small world. I volunteer with an, just changing gears for a second. You never know who's going to be at the hotel that you're staying at. The Education Service Center had a workshop in League City, and that particular weekend that they were there, we also were bringing some wounded war veterans from San Antonio to let their hair down and have a good time on the Kima Boardwalk. Well, little did I know I was going to walk into a workshop at the Education Service Center, all 20 of them. And that's how I ran across them, and I said, wait a minute, and I told them the elevator speech, 20 seconds, and the Region 4 guy goes, wait a minute, you're telling me that these young men and women that come to your academy, they're federally and state funded? I said, that's absolutely right, sir. Dr. McGowan, I think his first name is Robbie. That's who I met at Region over there. But anyway, so the bottom line today, I know we don't have a lot of time. I know y'all guys are behind or started a little late. I just wanted to get you the information. You have it there in front of you. There's also information there. My contact information is here. I am available to go to your school to do a briefing should your leadership want a briefing. But at this point, I believe we know who our clients are. I believe we know that we all know that in today's world, these young men and women have got to get an education to get ahead. I know this because I did a briefing to a school the other day and last week, and then they said, God, these kids, man, they just don't get it. And I said, I know that. And then I had a briefing to parents and students, and when the parents and the students are there, and by the way, I'm bilingual, and we do have it in Spanish. Unfortunately, when I was there last Saturday at the place in Jimmy Rock, all my Spanish brochures were gone. But it's okay, we'll get some. If you want it in Spanish, hit me with an email, and I will send it to you. The same brochure, it'll be in Spanish. If you have, Spanish-speaking folks that need to read it, that way the parents. But anyway, that briefing to the parents, when they're in the briefing, they get to hear. And then I bring students that have just graduated, and when they're standing there and they see their classmates, literally their classmate, doing testimonials, that sells a program. Our program has been around, and I believe it'll be around for the duration of many of us that'll be here on this earth. Lucky for me that I was transferred out of Bosnia when I found out about the program. I've been there since the inception, and so I've seen the program grow, and it's grown more and more and more. Timekeeper? Okay. So today, the main mission today, my mission today was to make sure that y'all did get the information in front of you. And at this point, I know some of y'all that do know about the Academy, and I'm sure most of y'all, once you study who we are, you'll know what we're doing. We are helping our young men and women who are 16, who are 17, who are 18 years old, who are behind on credits, who could be a repeater of the same grade, could have a lot of truancy issues that y'all are visiting, who are not just doing the right thing. And as I was talking to Dr. Lovett 10 days ago, and I said, sir, we're not here to get your A or your B or your C or even some of your D students. We are here to offer these young men and women who are going to spin their wheels in that classroom and disrupt the classroom and go to an alternative campus and disrupt that organization or that campus there. We are trying to offer them this opportunity of a lifetime, because if I was a parent, well I was, but had I known about this, and I should have put my son into it, but that's history. But you'll be surprised how many students right now that you're dealing with right now, that if they came to a briefing, or if you just handed them a brochure and said, check this out, go to the internet. We have a YouTube where you'll hear testimonials from parents, from students, and you'll be surprised. They'll say, maybe this is what my son or daughter needs, or my grandson or my granddaughter needs. At this point, if anybody has any questions from me, yes, sir.
You mentioned July 2015.
Yes, sir.
Where in Houston or what?
I left that open so somebody could ask me. Eagle Lake,
okay.
Not too far from Katy. I think I saw a Katy police car out there. Is that yours, sir? Yeah, we're about, 30 miles? Yeah, 30 miles. It'll be at Eagle Lake. And by the way, they are hiring. There's positions available. And you don't have to be in the military to work for the organization. No, you don't have to be in the military. The director has been hired. The position that's posted now is a commandant, assistant commandant, and a program coordinator. And then the school district that will be assigned to educate our troops will be the Rice Consolidated Independent School District there. The school district that's educating our troops in Sheffield is the Iran Sheffield School District. That's who educates our troops down there. And we follow all the rules and regulations that every school district, I knew that young lady back there. Yeah, we follow all the rules and regulations that every school district has to follow, because we're under TEA. Eagle Lake, sir. We're bringing in 147 Saturday the 17th. And when we start the one in Eagle Lake, we'll multiply that times two. So we'll be able to help almost 300 students twice a year now, because remember, January and July. We start a class but we take applications throughout the year. And if you go to our website, you'll see that I have a briefing set up next Thursday, the 22nd. 21st, I'm here in Region 4. The 22nd, I'm doing a briefing in Southeast Houston. And if you have any parents or students that you want to send that way, if they show up, they will also get an excuse for school. And a parent can get an excuse for work, because they probably missed some work, or coming to the school, to the campus to be with a principal or assistant principal. So oftentimes parents will need excuses as well. My briefings start promptly at 11 a.m. and it's over at 12 noon. 1 hour of their time. And you'd be surprised that 1 hour, what it can do for those young men and women when I have students there and literally their classmates. Questions, anybody? Yes, sir.
My question simply is, with the alignment that you had in January and July, my first question is why did y'all choose those two time frames to start to pick up?
Well, when this program, do you want me to answer that one?
Yes.
Okay. When this program was conceived in 1993 in Washington, D.C., when we started the school here in 94, that's how it was designed. And the reason being is because if you think about it, they start in January They graduate in June. The staff takes a little time off, 2 weeks off, and then we go right back into it. We'll start a class in July, and they'll graduate about a week before Christmas. And then some of the students will go back to their high school, and they'll just fall right back into their high school. And of course, all the credits are transferable. That's why we started way above my pay grade. They did it back in '94.
So my second question was that we do dropout recovery.
Oh.
Starting in August.
Oh, okay.
If we're gonna, 99% of the time during that time would be the time that we would be sending students your way. But if they don't pick up until January, they're still gonna be counted for us throughout the state as a dropout, even if they start in January, whether they start in January or
July.
Right.
Right. Well, that's probably, there's nothing I can do about the start date. Our schools are going to start a week apart, but it'll be in January and July. Now, there is talk about a third school, but right now let's just get the second one up and going. Yeah, Major General John Nichols wants 4 schools before he retires. Yes, ma'am.
How many students do you have apply every year?
How many? We have close to 300 students that do apply. Oftentimes the numbers vary. Each class is different. I can tell you that the August class or the July class or the July class is very, very hard to fill because y'all's school doesn't start until August. And the January class is extremely harder because school doesn't start until August, and then there's really not a lot of things going on until 4, 5, 6 weeks into the program is when you start seeing results from students. But each class varies. This class that's coming on board right now, we selected 147 out of 250 apps that came in.
So once the second school is up and running, you'll be able to take probably every kid that applies.
Maybe, yes, probably. It just depends how many each class applies. We have to be selective now. You remember who we're dealing with. Yes, ma'am.
Something else we may be able to do is work with our local judges and get them to court order this, so then it won't count as just a GED, it's a court ordered GED, and that won't count as a dropout against us. I'm pretty sure the judge I work with wouldn't do that.
And you know what? We are working with many JPs throughout the state. We started working with a JP out of Collin County, Judge John Payton, holds a record. And just so you know, as the youngest judge ever elected, he's still there. Right out of high school, by the way, I heard. Anyway, Judge Payton started this, and we are, when a court order, now let me make one thing clear. They can court order a student to our program. He or she still have to have a complete application. He or she is going to make sure that follows our rules and regulations. And we can dismiss him or her because, yeah, the court order does hold a lot of fire, more fire to their feet to stay in. And oftentimes, when they're on probation, oftentimes when a judge orders them, they can and will, it's up to the judge because that's what they're elected for, can clear some of the records. And we've been doing this since 1994. I know. I have literally wiped slates clean. I was in court 3 weeks ago before our class graduated this December, one kid that was in the program. And we had to get everything off because he was going in the military. And nowadays, as you know, even though there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, all over the world, it is not as easy to get in the military. It's not that easy. 310 million people in America, I believe, or give or take a couple of million. 1% can qualify just to get in. It doesn't mean they're going to take you, but you qualify to get into the military. That's how serious it is. Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question. What
Yes.
kind of mental health facilities or instruction or help do y'all have at your program?
We do have, we're not a therapeutic facility. We're not an alcoholic or rehab organization. We do have many challenges with students that come to our program that are under medication. We do have 2 nurses on site. We do have a hospital that's about 16 miles away if they need to see somebody or talk to somebody. But that's as far as it goes, okay? We don't have the time. We're only 5.5 months. Oh, by the way, while they're there, they also have vacation. We give them vacation while they're there. And just so you know, many years ago, we used to drug test our students 2 weeks after they got into the program. as many of us know, oftentimes in 2 weeks they're still probably positive. So the National Guard Bureau made an addendum, and now we test our students on the 8th week. After we clean them up. And at any time, we can stop and drug test anybody after we clean them up. If they fail a drug test, after we clean them up, they're going home. When they go home on vacation, they know what's going to happen when they come back. Okay? Because you got to remember who our clients are. And they get this briefing. I'll make it crystal clear when they're at my briefing. I'm just letting you know, so it doesn't, we don't, like I said, we're not a drug rehab or a therapeutic organization, but we know a lot of students come in there. Some will even tell us, hey, last night was my going away party, what can we do? There's nothing we can do. I mean, wish we could, but we just can't go to their house and say, okay. But y'all can go to their houses. No, just kidding. Anybody else? Do the girls get haircuts? No. Yeah, that's what the girls go when I'm doing my briefing. Oh, and I'll say no, and she just, do the boys get haircuts? Yes, just a haircut. Yeah. Anyway, I really want to thank the organization that invited me to come over here and present to y'all guys here, because I think y'all have a very, very important job in helping our nation, in helping our state, especially our state, to kind of turn the corner. Yes?
What day and where is the next?
My next briefing for the parents and applicants is on 22 January. That's next Thursday. It'll be in Southeast Houston. It'll be at the American Legion number 490. The address is 11702 Old Galveston Road, and that's in Houston, 77034. It is literally right across the street from Ellington Field. Not on the base, across the street. You can't miss it. And they have a venue in the back that's kind of like this. They have latest technology. I use that in their back conference room, and it works perfect. Okay? And that starts promptly at 11 o'clock. It's also on our website. It's over at 12 noon. Should you want to send some of your colleagues to that briefing, you're more than welcome. Should you want to send parents and students, that's even better. I think after I meet with Dr. Wells and Dr. McGowan, I think is his name, here in Region 4, I believe we'll probably be pretty good to fill our class in Eagle Lake with no problem. My colleagues are working all over the state of Texas, so we're getting students from all over. It is competitive. The sooner we can get their application in, the better of a chance to get in. So it can be competitive. Yeah, but you're right. Maybe our first July class of this year, we hope to have, they want 600 applications to decipher the information and select 150 to both sites. Okay, that's going to be kind of tough. 600 applications starting now. On behalf of the Texas Challenge Academy, my name is Eliu Rojas. I hope you did get some good information today, and you do share it with your colleagues and parents and students. I want to thank you all again for allowing me to take some of your time up. Yes?
Do we have any more of these that we could take back and share with our district?
I believe I do. Thank you, Amy. Yes, there's a few more left. There's brochures here. If you shoot me an email and send me an address, I'll make sure that we get you whatever you need. Just send it to me. Yeah, and I think, who's the girl that set up the workshop? The secretary, Elizabeth or somebody, yeah, whoever. Just send me an email, or I can send it to you, whoever. And I'm gonna get y'all signing roster so I can let the boss know that there was an audience, and I didn't just drive up here, and I just took the time. I thank you all again, and we just got brand new vehicles. The state did, and I don't have mine today because they're in Sheffield training, ready to go to open up to go to Austin. But I have tons of them when I'm in the area. Is your office here? No. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I'll give them, whoever emails me, I'll get that information to you. I thank you again on behalf of the great state of Texas, the best state in the union.
Yeah.
I salute you.
Evaluations, please, 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 please. Please, let's make sure we do that. That was our last presentation for the day. You all have, you have the bills. So you have a packet, right? And so we have, I'm sure all of the districts right now, we're all involved in this bill watch. Because the bill watch is going to definitely affect us in regards to truancy this year. One of the principals in our district was asked to come to Austin and to testify to some of the committee on truancy there. And I called him on yesterday and just try to pick his brain to find out specifically what they were looking for. I think at the beginning of the school year this year, or maybe last year, I asked the group about if you ever heard of Appleseed. And many of you had not heard of Appleseed. But Appleseed is a watchdog group, a bunch of lawyers throughout the state, and oftentimes throughout the year, they will ask us to provide them with some kind of data. That data normally has something to do with truancy, and what they want in regards to that breakdown is how many students in your district have you filed on, and year X, Y, and Z. They want to break down in regards to ethnicities. They want to break down in regards to socioeconomic status. And so we have some bills that are being presented this year, and our boss Dave Schrant, he and his secretary, they're on the active bill watch. So what you have in this packet as of last Friday are the bills, the active bills that are going to be presented to the Congress during this legislative session. If you look at the bills, you have House Bill 297. Let me see, what's the order I have? You have House Bill 379. 379, yeah. House Bill 379, written by Mr. White, Tyler. And I'm not going to go through each one of these bills. That's why I gave you the packet. You might want to have this conversation when you get to your schools, to your districts, whomever your directors are. We need to get somebody's attention. Just like the gentleman who was here earlier talking about Mr. Nguyen. I'm going to make sure that I get his contact information and send it out to everybody, because he stated that he would be our contact in regards to these bills. And so all of us need to be talking to him on a regular basis, letting him know how we feel about what's going on. He knows, he has a very good idea that what is going to transpire if these bills are passed, especially with the one, if you read, let me see which one it is. The bill written by Mr. Wu, House Bill 297, talks about progressive sanctions, and as you read the bill, anything in regards to filing in the JP courts, anything in regards to filing on a student for failing to attend, anything in regards to a parent, in regards to contributing, all that's been lined out. And so if you keep reading on down, municipality, now we don't have any courts inside there. So that means that we're going to probably have to travel. If they're talking about municipal or district courts, we're going to probably have to travel downtown if we ever get a filing, if that ever happens. But there's going to be, supposedly, there's going to be a lot of changes to this bill. Now, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bills in regards to truancy that you have in this packet. Okay? And so it's very, and if you look around, we all, I think when we first started meeting,
the statement that I made is that even your directors probably don't know specifically what you do and what your contribution really is to your district. And so people in the Congress, well, they probably don't have an idea of what's going on in the public school system. But again, just like the gentleman was saying, Mr. Nguyen, the only way that we're going to have any kind of impact is if we start making some kind of noise, talking to somebody. Of course, if you happen to know your elected legislator or senator, call them. Even if you don't know them, call them. Mr. So-and-so, House Bill 379, and just, maybe we can come up with a standard letter and send it out to everybody, and, we can do that. But nobody else is going to really realize this until the principals on campus are saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because they're going to probably have to hire some additional hands. The progressive sanctions, the progressive sanctions require, before you can file on a student, you've got to do this. And then you've got to do this. And then the progressive sanctions, if I remember correctly, up to 45 days. Now, it doesn't say it has to be done in a week. It says up to 45 days. So what if we only did it for 10 days? Well, we don't know. So all that's going to have to come out in the wash when this thing is all over and done with. But, and understand too, that's pretty much the only area of our job that is really going to pertain to is the filing. And we can just simply say, in other words, that now there's really no accountability, or there won't be really any accountability in regards to parents and students in regards to, compulsory education. So, just, take some time, like the young lady from safety. Well, how often do y'all have your training? Well, we train ourselves. So take some time and sit around the table. And, if you got the ear of an assistant superintendent or an associate superintendent or somebody like that, we need to get the word out. Somebody else needs to know other than us. Somebody else needs to know other than us. Any questions? How did we enjoy the safety this morning? Initially, I got her PowerPoint and it just didn't speak to anything that we really did. So that's why I gave her the list of things that I had written down of all the hazards that we have to deal with. And so she was able to kind of, draw that in and speak on those. And then we thank Sergeant Rojas for coming out, and I definitely enjoyed his presentation. I sent students to the Challenge Academy before, and they were successful, and this is a successful program. So we want to just kind of make sure that, when we're doing this kind of thing, talk to kids, talk to parents. I wish we could get the higher-ups to change the time frame, make it fit when we're doing our dropout recovery, August or September. That would be real good. But unfortunately, that it is what it is. And if you look at the bottom of your agenda, has the next date that we're going to be here. That also has the number for the. I'm sorry. I don't know. Well, I'll just get a consensus right now. If Mr. Nguyen, if Mr. Nguyen can get some credible information, some solid information on these laws after they're passed. Right now they're just bills, but these laws after they're passed, would we be willing to come in for a session for that? Yes. Now remember, we're going to have a session in September. In September, specifically on, that's going to be our legislative update in September, just like we did 2 years ago. But if we could get it, okay, so March. I think he said March.
Well, in the very beginning of March.
Right. So we would be willing to come, and now we've got to ask the folks from, HCDE if they can fit us in also as well. Oh, okay. Hey. All right. Hey. All right. We're coming back. Yeah. So the ball's already rolling. So just look for the emails. You know, if he can make it happen, just look for the emails. Thank you, Sergeant Rojas. Just look for the emails, and you know, let's come back, because you know somebody's going to have to figure it all out, right? It's not our job really to figure it all out. So the lawyers or somebody's going to have to say, okay, how are they going to do this, and how are we going to do that, and how are we going to do this in regards to where are we going to file at, you know, what courts, what have you, whether it's a municipal court or it's a district court, all that's going to have to come out in the wash. So somebody's going to have to figure something out. But we do know that oftentimes when bills are passed and they become law, that there's no funding. there's no funding. So the school districts are going to have to fund it. So, you know, additional social workers on the campus, quite possibly. We don't know. Yeah, right. Yeah, they have enough with that, already as it is. Everybody's overworked on the campuses. But like I say, have that conversation on your campuses, wherever you're at. You know, break the bills out. We need to talk about it. But Mr. Nguyen's information, I mean, that's the contact. And so we need to be letting him know. And then again, talking to our principals on campus, making them aware of the bills. And so, you know, with hopefully the possibility that somebody will get involved.
And information, what we can do.
Say it.
If we can get more information, what we can do for Mr. Nguyen.
Okay, yeah. Well, in the email, I guess in the emails, we'll just, you know, ask him specifically what, you know, what.
I mean, are there any good bills? Are any of the bills good?
Who was that? Clifford actually, Clifford said, tell me some good news. I said, you come here to ask me for good news? Not in a legislative year. So, you know, that's what we're up against in regards to this. Again, we don't know how the landscape is going to change, but there's probably going to be some changes. But we still have job security. Yeah. So, okay, sure, yeah.
Okay, since we're done a little early, I just wanted to take the time while you're still finishing up your lunch to find out if we, had any new information about what we normally do. Like at the end of all our sessions, we want to talk about our jobs and how it affects each of us, and if you have anything else you want to add about our daily activity, court activity, things like that. Was there anything that we would like to discuss? And we didn't have it on the plan because, as you know, we're done just a little bit earlier than I thought we were going to be done.
Who's wondering if everybody feel that they pay for it? Who's wondering if they can do this around there?
Stay in school. Anyone still doing stay in school?
We are.
What school? CC, I know CCISD and.
Helena Park, Deer Park.
Wait, I'm
Deer
sorry.
Park, Helena Park.
Deer Park, Helena Park, and
CCISD, Clear Creek.
Okay, Clear Creek.
Sheldon.
So we still have some in there. We were, there was something that we had. It's installed. I haven't heard anything recently, right? We were trying to get back into stay in school, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything recently about it. There was a grant out there. Was there? We haven't talked about it in a while. Anything going on with that?
Yeah, there was a workshop today. We had a slot.
Okay. There was a workshop, as Mr. Hatfield had said. It was supposed to be today, but right now we haven't heard anything because we were trying to get back on to the stay in school as well. There were some rumors that it was going to be held at Judge Adams' court, but now with all that's happened, we haven't heard anything recently about if we're going to get in it, where it's going to be, things of that nature. So, what court? You were all in courthouses that still deal with stay in school rights. We don't have any courthouses that we go to that actually do stay in school anymore, correct? None of the three that we do, none of them have stay in school in the court to even see what it looks like or to know how it's performed in here. I never really got a chance to do stay in school. I only saw it happen one time with Mr. Hatfield back at Judge Adams' court many years ago, and since then I've never seen it. I don't really know how it's done. Not in Williams anymore.
Judge Parrott on the northeast side of Houston on the Wallaceville, his court still does stay in school. And Judge Williamson.
Okay, I don't know, would you like to, I don't know, Stan, because she wants to know what it is. He's dealt with it for many years, and so I'll just ask him if he'd like to speak.
How many years have y'all done stay in school?
We have not done it for probably the last 3 years. We did it a few years before then.
And now you're starting back?
No, sir, we're not.
Oh, who's doing stay in school?
Clear Creek, we've been in.
Clear Creek. How many years have y'all done it?
Since it started. Since it started.
Since it started. And with what judge?
Oh, you know, Judge did it in school and in
Okay, who else? Anybody here from Aldi? Oh, you don't do it. Klein? No one from Klein?
Pasadena schools do it. They're not,
Klein does it, I think, with Judge Adams, right?
Pasadena, Deer Park, and LaPorte are in Judge Williams.
Oh, okay.
Williamson, sorry.
used to do it, but they stopped it a few years.
Well, from our perspective anyway, first of all, the court warning notices come out of the district attorney's office for Harris County. So the idea is if I'm a parent and I have an envelope that says Cy-Fair ISD and I have one that says Harris County District Attorney, I probably open this one. I probably open that one to see what the other one I might throw it in the trash or whatever. So the first idea of the whole thing is the court warning comes from the district attorney's office and they actually read it, and that keeps them from being filed on. So that's that concept. Once you go to court, there's no cost to the parent. That's another concept. So try to get the student back in school through a sit-down meeting with the DA, the clerk, the tennis officer, parent, and all. And I can say that during the time that we did it in Judge Adams, I mean, we saved some lives, actually. And I liked it. However, it costs money. The district has to pay. Cy-Fair was having cutbacks, so they axed the program. So now we tried to apply for a grant, and the workshop that is today was about how to apply for those grants. And Tyrone Smith, I believe is his name, was supposed to get back with me in regards to do we have a slot so we can go, and he never did. And even if he did, I'm not sure that the powers that be in our district would have sent a grant writer, because it needs to be somebody who knows about writing grants. And if any of you have been involved in that, it's very difficult. So our district won't do it unless we get a grant. We'd like to, but that's the way it goes. And I suppose those of you that have been doing it for years, you must like it, otherwise you would have changed, right? Would you like to present any positive sides of it?
One part of it that you left out is the triad worker is also at the meeting, on the court date at the table with the DA. Yes. And so they need to be referred to MHMR or any other type of program, the RAP program, and those programs there. The triad worker is the court case worker.
Yes. No, we have, well, and that's the thing. You know, we do have a triad worker sitting at all of our,
we do too.
We always do. So that's not,
That's helpful because Clear Creek sits into 2 counties. And if you go to court in Galveston County, it's quite different than the program that we have in Harris County. So it's very important to us.
Well, our district sat down and looked at it, you know, our share of the district attorney's salary versus how many kids we get back into school and the ADA we get. The ADA money we get more than outweighs the amount that district attorney's salary costs. And then I've been keeping reports for the last few years, and when that district attorney letter goes out, and I send out so many a year, and my recidivism or whatever, I find out that about 75%, I never file a case on once that district attorney's letter goes out. It's only about 25% of the kids that I actually have to file a case on. I think that's a pretty good rate.
Yeah, so that part of it works.
I think that's great.
Well, we used to be in there, we would have the same DA as opposed to revolving.
Right, it's another with same DA all the time, which is good because I know I'm in Judge, well, it used to be Lawrence, now it's Cordoba. And we have these rotating assistant DAs, and some of them, when they come in, they don't have a clue. They look at me and say, what do you want to do? I say, wait a minute, I'm not the DA. I need a raise in pay. But, so, yeah, that's a good point. But anyway, does that answer your question?
Yes. I just wanted to add, because you did leave out, Gary, with the Stay in School program, so the kids are given the contract, and when you're at the table with the triad worker and the truancy officer, and the family and the DA, they get the contract. If the family doesn't comply with the contract, they are taken before the judge for what's called a sanction. It's like a deferred adjudication. If the kids don't comply with the deferred adjudication, they can get a new charge in district court for contempt. In our court at least, I'm in Judge Holly Williamson's court, they do handcuff and arrest those kids. They go through that whole process, and so sometimes that is beneficial. You see the kids in the court, he just got arrested for truancy, but really they're getting arrested for contempt, but we just let them think that they're getting arrested for the truancy. But that is a benefit as well in some instances.
Well, I'd like to say that whether that happens or not depends on the judge.
Right. As I said, in our court, that happens.
Judge Adams, I don't know if any of you ever knew him, but he would say, hook him up. And that meant cuff him. And I've seen him. There was a girl there that I filed on, had her baby with her. And he said, you got 2 outstanding warrants. You need to pay now or go to jail. She said, well, I got my baby. And he said, that's okay. We'll put the baby in Children Protective Services. And so, I mean, he was hard-nosed. And I think he got a lot of results. Judge Lawrence, I finally asked, I've got a lady here with 5 outstanding warrants. Why won't you arrest her? We don't have a jail here, and the police here don't want to take them downtown. So we don't arrest anybody on site. So a lot of that depends on your judge. And so I'm going from here to there today to talk to the new judge, hopefully, and see if, she might have some different ideas about changing her court. I don't know how you come up with a jail cell. You would think if that many police were there and have that police station that they'd have some place to put a person. That's out of my realm, though.
Well, I think in another answer to your question is that being in the Stay in School program, it adds another step. That contract is just that, it's a contract between the parties. It's not a conviction, it's nothing, and they get 6 months to try to fix the truancy problems and resolve the attendance issues. And only after the 6 months the contract expires, if they haven't done what they're supposed to do, then it goes further than that. It's like an extra step.
The other benefit of the program is that, as they were talking about earlier, we have a lot of kids with mental health issues. So that's one way, if the parent can't force his child to be evaluated, once the kid gets to court, they can be evaluated. They can go to, our judge will give them 24 hours to do a drug test. From that drug test, they have to do the evaluation. So a lot of times, getting them to court is the only way that we can actually get some services into that household.
Those things typically happen through triad, regardless if you stay in school. We have some, okay. It's just a couple of courthouses I've been to. Our triad worker always issues those same types of services and they're required by the district attorney. I've been to Williams and Gorsinski only. So those particular two always do that anyway. The only thing I think that has been pretty different from what I've learned from those who have done stay in school was that the letter does come from Harris County, and I've been told that that really did work, and it was very beneficial in getting their attention prior to court. Yes. Oh, you want one? Okay. Any other questions?
The law, yeah.
On the back table. Any other things you want to share? Any other questions, concerns? What's going on this time of year? We should probably be looking at our dropout list again. I mean, you know, you have to keep up with it, so you should be probably trying to look at that again and making sure that you find those who dropped out in the last couple of months, because it's about that time of year when they're going to start doing that. Truancy increases. Every one of my lists increased over the last 2 weeks. And my schools are fairly reasonable in their numbers compared to what I have had. So I kind of gauge that I was pretty shocked to look at my list on Monday. And I ran it on a Tuesday, reran it on a Monday, 4 days only, because we were, you know, that one day when we really didn't have, we were working, but there was no school, so we were doing something other than being in the office. So I ran it on a Tuesday when I do it on Monday. 4 days. I had a pretty long list. I would say it doubled from the time before we left for Christmas until this, for 4 days. I was very shocked. So yes, your insurance probably is increasing. A lot of people are sick too, so that's part of the reason, but also they're just getting probably tired of school about that time of year. And of course they started new classes, most of our high school students, and they either like it or they don't. Or, you know, they're basically getting to that point. So you should definitely be looking at those dropout lists again. Any other additional questions, concerns? Okay, well, you are free to go whenever you are done.
Make sure, let's everybody on the corner of your table.